The end of Black Ops 4 Zombies came and went like that. As soon as it was over, as soon as the multiverse was destroyed and the two children, Samantha and Eddie, walked off into the light, into the new Cold War universe, a little over a year later, Cold War came out and a brand new storyline was shoved in our faces, meaning a lot of what we saw happen at the end of Black Ops 4, especially Alpha Omega and Takeo Toten, some of the Easter eggs, details and storyline information that we were told was very quickly forgotten, and I think another reason for that was because, well, Black Ops 4 was the end of that segment of the zombie storyline, so everything from it no longer mattered. The multiverse was destroyed, our characters Richtoff and Takeo Nikolai and Dempsey were dead, everything within it was banished to the Dark Ether, meaning really, it didn't matter anymore. It had no real important relation to the new story in Cold War. Yes, the Dark Ether and the Ether timelines are connected, the new one couldn't exist without the old one, because the Orgothan device created the one that we're in now, but all of a sudden, everything from World at War to Black Ops 4 became way less important. And so some interesting lore in Takeo Toten, which I want to touch on in this video, I don't think was spoken about, at least not nearly enough. And one of those things was cloning. And even though this was something that had been happening ever since Black Ops 1, Call of the Dead, pretty much the beginning of the Zombies timeline, the first and only time we ever heard about it was in the final map for Ether, Takeo Toten, meaning for the reasons I've just explained, it either totally went over people's heads or it was forgotten about, but this was something that happened. So in Takeo Toten, a little bit of context just in case you don't know, this was a Group 935 research facility. One of the many things they were doing here was learning how to unlock the human mind in order to control people, specifically zombies for Germany's Undead Army, and alongside that they were also focusing on the Super Soldier program, which were basically stronger, more advanced versions of zombies that Germany could use to win the war. And if you explore the map, you will find evidence of this all over. On this drawing right here of one of Group 935's clones, you can see it's totally mutated. One of its arms is a claw. He looks bigger, stronger, bulkier. On the notes they've written, this clone can lift 400 pounds. Its arm as a spike is effective in close combat, but it had a failure being that it has a finger growing off its arm that it constantly stubs. So this clone ultimately wasn't successful. Looking at the notes for one of their other clones, they wrote, it has feet for hands, it smells of cheese, it's still having trouble with mutational suppression. You can see its arm is kind of like a club, which you would think would be good for combat, but apparently it's not supposed to be like this. This clone can climb 75% faster than its previous iterations, but this one wasn't successful either because they've said it's a failure, as it has feet for hands, which of course aren't as good as actually having hands itself. On one of their other clones, which looks even weirder, they've relocated its limbs, which even though it's got an arm for a head and its head's been transferred to its stomach, are all still functional, which is a success. They've noted spontaneous improvisation in blank limb nodes, and due to it having its head in its abdomen, it's now got a shortened digestive tract, meaning suboptimal calorie absorption. However, just like the others, it was a failure because its stunted limb length means reduced mobility, so it wouldn't be good in combat. And then on one of Group 935's final clones, this one has 2 heads, which is a success, however, only has 1 brain, which of course is a failure, and it also screamed for the entire duration of its lifespan. So here at Takeo Toten, or Call of the Dead, they were experimenting with cloning, and if you listen to a radio from Richtofen back in 1945 when he worked here, he tells us a little bit more about what was going down here.
Log entry 1469, date August 28th, 1945. Dear Diary, progress continues on unlocking the human mind. If Germany hopes to continue their war, they need an undead army willing to obey orders. There's also been further interest in the Super Soldat program. The German Chancellor considers this of high interest. We have begun the cloning process. We will have to see what results we yield. Test subject N3WB has been vomiting for 2 days straight. Our poor janitor. He has nightmares. Needless to say, we will no longer be serving fish. The Russian subject continues to be unresponsive. Dr. Yina suggested a serum made of vodka, but considering my concerns about his loyalty, I wonder if this is perhaps another attempt at sabotage. The specimen from Mexico continues to rant incoherently about giant monsters and some uber-fun war. Perhaps we were a little too eager with his 115 injections. I did not think he would go this crazy so quickly. If I'm being honest, I'm beginning to find this work a little drab and boring. Undead army, super soldat programs. Group 935's deal with Germany has truly limited the organization's potential. The appearance of the spy last month has inspired me to review the blacksmith's schematics. The Garthen device and its 3 components: the vril vessel, the apothecon blood, and the elemental shard. The instructions to creating the elemental shard have my interest piqued. 4 human souls merged with element 115. Not that I'm trying to brag, but this may be something in my wheelhouse.
So Richtofen himself states, at the Siberian facility, as a part of the Super Soldier program, which was requested by the German Chancellor, Group 935 had begun the cloning process, seeing what results they could yield. And I've just showed you the pictures of the different results they had, all of the clones having deformities and failures. All of that sounds relatively normal for the zombie storyline, right? However, in the human infusion area of the facility, you can find 4 pods. Well, there are plenty more around, but these 4 contain people. Now, technically, one of them is not a person, it's a spleen, and you can guess if you know the zombie storyline, the spleen belongs to Pablo Marinus. We'll get more into that in just a second, but these 3 other pods here contain people. And if you look very closely, this is Nikolai, Dempsey, and Takeo in that order. On the left is Nikolai, in the middle, Tank Dempsey, and on the right, Takeo. He, out of the rest, is the most visible. You can easily make out it's him. The other 2, you kind of have to go into theatre mode and mess about a bit. Almost no clip through the tank because it's difficult to make out, especially this one, as you can see here. If I didn't recognise Dempsey and Takeo, then I would have said, I have no idea who this is, but of course it makes sense for it to be him if the others are there. And then yeah, this clone in the middle is definitely Dempsey. So we see the crew here, which makes sense. We knew they were here. They were being experimented on by Richtofen as he was trying to unlock their minds. We'd known that since the beginning, but what we didn't know is they actually turned into clones. Takeo's right arm and leg are grossly enlarged. His fingers are 10 times the length. So are his toes, if they're still his toes, unless they've turned his foot into his hand as well. Dempsey has spikes for feet and a mutation on his right arm as well. And then Nikolai almost looks like he's turning into a reptile. He's got a big gross bulge on his back. He looks more muscular. What mutations and abilities they were trying to do and give to him, I'm not sure. But as you can see, Nikolai, Dempsey and Takeo in Tag der Toten were a part of Group 935's cloning process. Now, of course, the interesting thing is, in the zombie storyline, when we see them in any other instance, they look normal, meaning in the pocket dimension that Tag der Toten exists in this dimension, Nikolai, Takeo, and Dempsey were cloned. And then when Group 935 broke up and this facility was abandoned, they were left here, and this is what they became. The other possibility is, because we never get to access this area when we play Call of the Dead, we just stay down near the lighthouse and the ship. We don't get to explore this area of the facility on that map. So perhaps these clones of Takeo, Nikolai, and Dempsey were always there because they are clones. The original versions of them that we see, the Ultimus versions, we know were experimented on by Richtofen, and then he took them with him to Derice, where they were going to work together on Richtofen's grand scheme. However, before he took them away from the facility, he cloned them, and this is the result. There are clones that exist of Nikolai, Dempsey, and Takeo. I am wondering, are they dead? Are they alive because the facility had been abandoned for so long? If we were to release them from these chambers, would they be alive? I suppose it wouldn't really matter because, like I said, at the end, everything gets banished to the Dark Ether. Could these clone versions of Nikolai, Dempsey, and Takeo be in the Dark Ether right now in Black Ops 6 Zombies? Could their bodies be in there? That's a possibility because we know they're returning in the next game, Black Ops 7. Imagine if we saw these clone versions of them. But getting back to what I was saying, this is super interesting because we only heard about it in Tag der Toten. This was the first time we saw it, and then if you do the Easter egg, not long after, the storyline is over. Everything is destroyed and banished to the Dark Ether. So really interesting stuff like this became irrelevant, meaning people never took notice of it, or at least didn't comprehend what's actually gone on here. You can't really begin to imagine what they went through here. We all now think of Richtofen being best friends with them, especially the Primus version, but even the Ultimus version kind of towards the end, but not really. However, at one point, Richtofen tortured all of these characters. He experimented on them. He cloned them. And besides from this, you can see evidence of that all over this facility. In their holding cells, some of the stuff they wrote on the walls whilst they were being kept here gives you an insight of the effects Element 115 was having on them. We know one of the side effects of that is memory loss, confusion, paranoia, delusion. On the walls in Takeo's jail cell, some of the things he wrote was, I wish I could restore honor to the Masaki name. The serum, these experiments, sometimes I wake up and see a face that I don't recognize. The German, his experiments are so cruel. He is a villain most foul. Lies, the German is my friend. He is my ally. We must trust the German Takeo. He is our only friend. In Dempsey's jail cell, he wrote, you think this place will hold me? This stuff they're putting on our heads, messing with my memories. If Dr. Sauerkraut thinks he can break me, he's got another thing coming. Before writing, who wrote all of this on the wall. And then in Nikolai's jail cell, he just wrote vodka everywhere. So you can see the side effects of Richtofen's experiments on the walls in their jail cells as they were experiencing it, especially them suffering from delusion and confusion, wanting to not trust Richtofen, but then the effects of element 115 kicks in, where they believe they should trust him as he's their friend, when in reality he wasn't. And as for Richtofen's fourth test subject, who was Pablo Marinus, whose spleen can be seen in the pod hanging up here, we find him in the lighthouse in Tagdototen, but Richtofen originally thought he had killed him. He removed Pablo's spleen in an effort to unlock the barrier to controlling his mind. He then dumped his body in the river, thinking he was dead, but instead he woke up within the pocket dimension.
Scalpel, please, Dr. Yi.
Scalpel, Dr. Richtofen. What exactly are you looking for, Dr. Richtofen?
We are attempting to locate an appropriate stimuli that will trigger the brain's involuntary willingness to obey command. Ah, there we are. Forceps, Dr. Yi, if you please.
Forceps, Dr. Richtofen. But the liver and kidneys, or the spleen?
Our goal is to unlock the barrier to the human mind. With element 115, it is important that we explore every possibility. The barrier may be where we least expect it. There we are. Retractors.
Retractors? It seems the Chancellor has been pushing us harder these last days. Is this because of the spy that was discovered at the asylum?
I do not know, Dr. Ina. Our German leader, along with Dr. Maxis, is so limited in his thinking. His goals are simple-minded, childish. He keeps pushing for his undead army when he could have the elemental shard.
The elemental shard?
A device capable of endless energy. We could use it to craft anything, including an Agarthan device of immense power. Hold this open while I grab the injector.
Agarthan device? Why haven't I heard about this?
Dr. Yina, do you have a firm grip? You're shaking.
I'm ready. Please, proceed.
Injecting serum in 3, 2, 1. Hold it open. The injection is nearly complete.
I can't hold this grip.
Well, I guess the barrier isn't in his spleen. Nincompoop! You did this. I knew it. You let go on purpose.
Richtofen, it was an accident. My hand slipped.
Dunkov!
So a really interesting piece of lore in my opinion, which was majorly underlooked. Something that I wish Treyarch explored further, but I guess because it was the end of that story, there was no room to. But if we had maps after that, then maybe we would have heard more. So yeah, there we go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video today. If there's anything you didn't know, then let me know in the comment section below. Drop a like rating, make sure you are subscribed to the channel to stay up to date with the latest content, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.